almost nothing to this show.
No. It means that we have a very special guest to do our introduction.
Well, let me tell you something, dudes.
No.
Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast, brother. And it's your boy, it's your dude, your main man, Hulk Hogan here, telling you to check in live. Wait, you're not live? Okay, never mind, bro. We're gonna take it to the stratosphere, dude, and we're gonna talk all about video games, brother. We got Steve Jimenez. Okay, he's the creative director over at Tic Toc Games, brother, and developer of Wrestle Story, dude. A hard-hitting, smack-talking RPG adventure, brother.
Wow. Hulkster, thank you so much. Oh my god.
Yeah, intro.
The Hulkster's here, yeah, and so is the Macho Man. Create your wrestler,
Mega
build
powers.
your tag team, yeah, and slam your way all the way through an expansive 3D world where wrestling is everything. Oh yeah.
Welcome, Steve. How you doing, bud?
That was amazing. That was awesome. I wish that, we rehearsed that so I could try out a few different Macho Mans myself, so we could be
I've
like
been thinking about
Mega
it since we
Powers.
canceled
Dueling
last week.
Macho
That
Man.
was so good, dude. Thank you so. That was actually a real a lot of people have the Macho Man, but not a lot of people have the subtlety of the Hulk Hogan. You had all the notes.
the gargling his words
That
a
was
lot.
really
Yeah,
really
it's
good,
it takes listening and watching wrestling your entire life to really get the cadences of these cartoon characters and superheroes. So
Well, that was well done.
I appreciate that. Well, welcome to the show, man. And you're
so
you're
much.
making a wrestling game, which is a dream of mine. I've always wanted to make a wrestling game. But let's just let people know that, guys, you're listening or watching the Dual Screens podcast. It's the internet's #1 indie developer interview podcast across the entire interwebs, probably. The show posts in each and every week for your listening pleasure, except last week, which kind of it still is gonna be posted like now. You should be listening to it now or watching it. Actually, you're definitely listening to it, but the YouTube version was slowed up because his internet died for like a week. So
It was stolen. It was removed.
severed. It was literally severed.
It was sabotaged.
It was a bit of a swerve. Yeah.
He was.
I had to
wrestling-
talk
in
to my
wrestling terms,
fiance
right?
for like
Yeah. So we're back on we're back on a regular schedule now, though. So you guys should be getting plenty. And actually, we are, as of today, as of recording, we are celebrating our 6th anniversary at Dual Screens. This is our 6th year in existence. So congratulations to you, Andy, and congratulations to you, Steve. You are celebrating our 6th anniversary with us.
Yeah,
so.
dude, that's special. Thank you. I haven't done anything for 6 years consistently. So
Neither have we.
congratulations. That's amazing. How many?
I think we
episodes?
last 6 weeks.
How
many
many
episodes
episodes?
is
See, of this particular show, it should be about 175.
Math is hard.
We did 300 and change. No, 100 and
300 additional ones. Oh, you're saying total. Wow.
there was the Dual Screens.
There was 126 of the other one.
Yes, 126 of Nintendo Dual Screens podcast.
Yes.
Then we rebranded to
Very
Dual
cool.
Screens podcast. We also had Crossplay podcast at one point that has been shelved, and we still do Indies
there's
Nuts
just
podcast. So
countless dozens and dozens of hours of
Oh
you
my
guys
God, it's-
talking. So we could really like
well over
splice
300
together an
interviews.
AI.
I would,
that would be
yes,
really
I would
accurate.
love to
Oh,
do
that'd be
that.
dope.
That's my life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
Do
Hell
the
yeah.
show for me.
yeah.
Just give it a topic and let it
I would
go.
love to know if AI can determine if a guest is cake worthy.
Oh my goodness.
We'll get to that
This
later,
is-
Steve.
Okay, I was gonna say this is
That's some intense AI training.
Folks,
I want to be a part of that.
Folks, if you like what you hear or like what you're listening to and you want to support Dual Screens, it's very easy. You go to patreon.com/dual screens, just like our Patreon producer, Colton the Apprentice Nestler. We can't continue to grow without all of your support. So please share the show with your friends, leave a comment, do all that fun stuff. But if you want to support us with your hard-earned dollar bills, y'all, $1 gets you into our VIP Discord and some bonus content. So you can just head over to our Patreon and do that. Become part of the VIP community. We hang out there all day and talk
What do you need
massive
extra
smack.
couple dollars for?
Not
guys?
even. It's like a $1. You know.
Yeah. What do you
know?
need that for?
$1.
You don't need that for
Nobody
anything.
needs $1. Not
Yeah,
one
you'll
person
forget
needs
about
$1.
Not
Wow.
one.
No,
Wow.
not one person. All
That's
right,
the
Andy.
one quote that comes out of this.
That's the one.
me, yep.
Two Steves and an Andy say nobody needs $1.
This is not my favorite kind of tag team, guys.
This
I
is
don't like this at all.
wrestling people are
Two Steves
very
and the topic is
special.
wrestling. I am.
So would you like for me to take our ceremonial first question?
Oh, by all means, yeah. That's
Oh,
on you,
okay.
baby.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No
Good.
problem. All right. I'm not prepared for this. Andy usually does this for
I
every
had
episode.
one in mind just in case.
Okay.
Oh
okay.
wow, you guys are like breaking the cycle right now.
We're breaking it. Well, Andy's
All the
giving me the
cycles are
hot
broken.
tag, and I'm gonna come in here
Yep.
and I'm gonna get the crowd riled
The
up.
crowd's been waiting for Steve to get tagged in for
That's it.
300 plus episodes.
That's it.
So they're hot. They're hot.
They're
right
hot.
now.
They're just. We've been on. Yeah, Andy's been getting his ass kicked. Here's a question for you: Who is the greatest professional wrestler of all time?
Oh,
I think for a really long time, my answer would have been Shawn Michaels.
Mhm.
I'm going through sort of like a Bret Hart-assance right now.
Yes, you are.
You know what I mean?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
I am. Yeah. It's been a tough road for me to get here, but I feel like I've matured. You know, I feel like I've grown.
I had to redecorate, so I can't find my Bret Hart thing, but I have an autograph of him and everything. He's my favorite wrestler of all time as well.
That's awesome.
And I always have the argument about Shawn Michaels. I'm like, Shawn Michaels had 2 good years, then he fell to drugs, and then had 3 good years. Like,
you're describing every rock band ever, right? Like
exactly.
Maybe
but
not the 3 good years afterwards.
Yeah, but there's so few rock bands that you can say, "Oh, you're the greatest." Like you had the longevity, you're the greatest of all time.
It's true.
But
it's true. Someone asked me that I was at PAX, and there was someone that asked me like who my Mount Rushmore was, and that's when it gets really hard. Do you know what I mean? Because there's so many
definitions that you can use.
Yeah, I'm like, it's the modern Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
I
the
love
classic
that question,
one.
by the way.
Yeah,
Well,
like
liking
the
Andy, there are different categories. It would be like saying you're around Mount Rushmore of video games. Like, do you pick
Yeah, I understand.
Miyamoto, Kojima,
Yeah.
Mario, and
Yeah, I
fucking
get it.
Master Chief? Like, how do you pick the characters from the
my
creators?
favorite video game protagonist, Miyamoto.
Yeah, right. But like for me, like just Vince McMahon is on that Mount Rushmore just for what he did. But like
I could see that. Yeah,
I could
see that
replace
argument.
him with like 50 wrestlers that people would
Yeah.
want to see on there more.
It's like your underdog ones, the ones that you're gonna like hold up, right? Because they need
like
more attention.
who's
and
the
more
greatest
love.
wrestler? Like no, the greatest wrestler isn't always the best wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's just
100%.
like Stone Cold Steve Austin has got to be on the Mount Rushmore for what he did for wrestling. Hulk Hogan's got to be on it for what he did for wrestling. I wouldn't put Undertaker on it because Undertaker, while he had the longevity and was really good at what he did, he was never the guy.
I think we're like on the same wavelength there. Like Undertaker is
Ric Flair?
awesome, but yeah,
Ric Flair's on there
Ric
for
Flair's
me.
up there for me for sure.
And then I think Vince rounds out my top. And Bret Hart, although I believe he's the best technical wrestler of all time and storyteller in the ring, he just didn't move the needle for long enough in my humble
He
opinion.
falls down real good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's a big real good fall downer.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andy, do you like podcasting? Because that's what we're doing.
I agree with all of what you all just said.
But the topic of the show, of course, is your game.
Yeah.
Steve, Wrestle Story. Tell us all about it. Give us the elevator pitch.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, obviously you and I think we have similar childhoods, probably in the sense that I've watched wrestling my whole life. I've been wanting to make a wrestling game for as long as I've been making games, probably before that. Used to make like little cardboard wrestling games and things when I was a kid. But yeah, this is our wrestling turn-based RPG. It's inspired by all the games we grew up playing, growing up, things like Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger and Paper Mario and the Super Mario RPG series, mashed up with obviously our love of pro wrestling and everything, WWF, WWE, WCW, everything that we grew up with. So I'm lucky enough to have an awesome team that just let me go crazy and do a bunch of stuff. And I got super invested. Even some of the people that weren't invested in wrestling are now huge wrestling fans. And we went to WrestleMania this year. And it's just
you really? Oh,
it's
that's
been awesome. It's
That's
been
so
so much
cool.
fun. It's been so much fun. Yeah.
That's so cool. How the hell did you get that? How'd you pull that one off? Anytime I've ever gone to WrestleMania, it's been like somebody's been like, "Hey, I got a ticket. You want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
It's called market research, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's the trick. You gotta make what you love, do what you love. This is basically just my reason to get closer to wrestling.
I understand. I
Like,
understand.
screw it. I don't actually want the game. I just want to go to wrestling shows for my job.
Excellent tax write-off right there.
Oh,
That's right.
That's
That's
why there's
right.
no like firm release window yet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ride this thing.
Got to
till the
ride
wheels
it,
come
man.
off,
You got to
man.
do it.
Gotta
Yep.
go watch some more wrestling to get some more inspiration. That's how we're gonna do it.
Indeed. So you always wanted to make a wrestling game. Why go the RPG route? Why not go like the traditional fighting game / sim / whatever?
Well, that's definitely something that, you know, I've been pondering for a long time. So I think like when I first started playing wrestling games, obviously that was before like character creators were a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once the N64 came out and you had access to these like super robust, like amazing character creators, I would spend more time creating my character and creating like a head canon for my character and creating a backstory and like what their journey might be, right? And wrestling is all about long-term storytelling, and the wrestling video games are all about, you know, kind of fun arcade action with your friends.
Right.
So I just never felt satisfied by what those wrestling games were offering, and I wanted to be able to explore a world of wrestling, right? So it just kind of all fell into place. It made sense when I looked at games like Final Fantasy and the kind of the larger storytelling that they allow for, or that they're best at, frankly. It just made sense. We're like, dude, we gotta do this. And the idea of a sort of the turn-based element was very much like wrestling tag teams. Like it's all about being tactical and double teaming and having different roles. Like you got your powerhouses, you got your high flyers, you've got your like more supernatural wrestlers. So all this RPG stuff just started like, and obviously we're just huge fans of RPGs as well at Tic Toc, but honestly, it sort of wrote itself. Like I almost can't even take credit for making the game in that way, because it just all kind of just came together like immediately.
Sounds like your next D&D campaign, Steve. How have you done a wrestling themed
So
Dungeons and Dragons campaign?
do you want to hear? Do you want to hear something?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear something, Andy?
Oh, good Lord.
I am currently in basically the alpha stage of a custom made, completely from scratch tabletop wrestling RPG game.
Awesome.
That our friend and other Dual Screens member Matt Murray, Missed Enough, has been gracious enough to test with me and give me some pointers and stuff like that. But I did actually write a full, like I could publish it right now and people could play it and it works.
That is awesome. We need to talk afterwards. I want to play your game.
Yeah,
That sounds
it's
really
dope.
fun.
It really is dope. I have a couple of things that I need to work out, but like right now I have everything.
Is it kayfabe? Like, is the world kayfabe? Like for people that don't know,
so
feel free to explain.
So kayfabe is keeping the ruse alive, right? That's showing people that it's real, that no matter what, these characters are real and whatever. So
like in our game, the characters are real characters.
Yeah.
It's a sport to them. It's a competition to them.
So
but in your game,
in my game, you're playing a character, but you most of the game is played as the character. So it's you could still meta certain things if you want your character to do certain things in the business wise, but there are everything that you're doing to the betterment of your character. So you do promo classes, you do like backs, and you're constantly gaining. It basically what it is it's three little activities that lead up to your match, and depending on what you do in those activities, you get bonus points to use for your match. So if you cut a great promo, you get extra points. If you do like a backstage encounter, you'll get points. If you backstage politic or whatever, like you can get all these bonus points for when it's time for your match, and then you have your match with the DM one-on-one.
Dude, yeah, let's definitely play.
So it's a lot of it's pretty cool, and I'm more than happy to get you in there. But that's not what we're not here for that, man. We're here for you.
I just love wrestling and video games and tabletop.
I know.
Games. It's all great.
I know.
Now I'm just like, I want to lift you up now.
Well, I could tell you one thing. Like the thing that's tough about it is
you have to say, "Oh, well, let me tell you something."
Let me tell you something, dude. The tough thing about wrestling games, brother, is trying to really translate it down to actions, dude.
Yep.
But yeah, like when you're creating a wrestling RPG, like the thing about wrestling is that it's all about storytelling in the ring. All these moves aren't just moves to weaken the opponent. Yep. A lot of the times they're choreographing this thing to tell a story, but as a video game and an RPG, and it's real to them. How did you make the decision on how you would use wrestling as the combat mechanics? Like, is it
cool?
Because it does. Like for me, the hard thing about balancing it is like even in the fighting video games, it's like if one guy's just beating the shit out of the other guy, it's not cool. It's not fun. You
Yeah.
want to see drama. You want to see these crazy moments. Are you looking to create stuff like that in your combat encounters, or is it more like level grind, get good, do some really cool moves kind of thing and get through the story?
I think it's hopefully like we're shooting for the best of both worlds, right? Where if you're somebody who wants to come in and level up your characters and fight a bunch and min max, like you can do that, right? The game's not really designed for someone to spend a ton of time like grinding. But as far as the wrestling elements, right? So like I said, this is a sport to them. So this is very real to them. So everything that they're doing is with the intention of defeating their opponent, right? But obviously in wrestling, the win conditions are different than, say, a battle in a fantasy setting or something, right? They're not trying to kill their opponents. They're trying to pin them, right? And so in our game, we have a pin mechanic where essentially as you're fighting, you're sort of weakening their stamina, and you can jump on and try to pin them at any time, right? And if you fail to pin, they're going to kick out and they're going to kind of follow up and punish you, right? They're going to gain the momentum and actually gain an extra turn and beat you down.
They're going to get some heat.
That's right. But if you pin them, right, and you succeed at that, you're going to get an extra turn, and you're going to get like extra bonuses and XP and other things. Now, the big twist kind of comes with our like something that we sort of internally call our bravery system, which is like if you're a scared heel, and you're getting beat down, you might try to escape, or you might try to call for a chair or reinforcements, right? So you really need to like balance it, right? So if you don't pin a heel before they call for a chair or try to escape, you're going to miss out on the bonuses and XP and stuff from defeating them, right? So there's kind of that basic element of wrestling where the heels try to run away when they're getting beat up, and you can't let them do that, right? Another thing is like when we have big boss battles, right? We're gonna. I'm so distracted by this
Changing
that hat was so. This hat,
hilarious.
Fuck.
this hat is so tight on my head that it was giving me a headache. So I swapped to the snapback.
I'm just gonna like.
Look at this mark it made on my head. It like made a mark across my head. I'm like, no mas.
Okay, yeah, that's bad. Always look. Always change your hat.
Day.
That just needs to be your new gimmick. You just change your hat.
I just change my hat in the middle of the show.
Yeah, they just get larger and larger and larger. Your camera pulls out to show the. So yeah, and another great thing that we have is these really huge boss battles that have almost like set changes and stuff, right? So in a really cool wrestling match that you've been waiting for, you might have a moment where they're fighting in the backstage. You might have a moment where they're like fighting outside in the parking lot and using cars and other things to maim each other in crazy ways, right? So in our game, when you get to these big boss battles, you'll actually have moments where it's like, for example, one of our main bosses that we've kind of showed off so far, he is the leader of the Knights of the Beer Pong Table. He's called the Party King, and he's this like sort of douchey party guy, but like royalty, right? And he takes you on a big pub crawl throughout the city as you're battling, right? So as you're fighting them, they're like, let's go, and you go to a whole new location and continue your battle there. And it has different mechanics that you can kind of tie into. So all of the spectacle of wrestling is just amped up and spread across the real world, right? So it doesn't just take place in an arena and around an arena. All of that action that you might have seen that takes place backstage, that can spill out into any place in the world now.
Do you frame it narratively like a show, or is it like this is just real life? These guys have beef. They're going to take it out.
So where like a WWE presentation is like you've got your commentators and they are speaking as if they are commentators in sports.
Yeah.
The commentators in our game, they speak as if it is a sport, but they follow the kind of the stars through their life.
That's
right?
awesome.
So
it's like a reality show.
It's almost I've never really thought about that, to be honest with you, but it's totally a reality show. And like a ref can show up out of nowhere, a reporter can show up out of nowhere, and there's just this idea that like the world is constantly watching the most important wrestlers do their thing, because
the Truman Show of wrestling.
It basically is. The most important thing in this world is wrestling, right? So these wrestlers are essentially like knights, right? So when you see a wrestler, they hold high esteem, even if they're kind of a heel. Like they're very much people that the community keeps an eye on.
Sure. Yeah. Like Ramses in Nacho Libre. He's a heel, but everybody loves him.
Yeah. It's fun to like bad guys sometimes, huh?
It is.
Yeah. What sort of like RPG fluff is in this? Because you're not gonna go around, I would imagine, fishing or rescuing stray cats. Fucking Final Fantasy.
Oh, I
7
see. When you say
remake.
RPG fluff, you mean that
like
that cool good stuff on
like
the
the
outside.
extra stuff when you're not battling in the ring.
Are you shooting dice in the alleyway and like?
Okay.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of stuff that's unannounced for sure with this game.
Mhm.
As far as that goes. We've shown mostly combat and general exploration.
Right.
But there are some cool, like I'll give an example. We have like a little thumb wrestling kind of mini game.
Oh, that's neat. I love that.
And then
Fuck
you know,
me.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything bigger or beyond that. But ultimately, things like card games in Final Fantasy, for example, have been heavily inspirational to us. So I would love to have people playing a wrestling card game.
What was that?
we'll
What
see.
was it called? Gambit? Was that what? No, what was it called in 8?
There's the
Triple Triad.
Triple Triad.
Triple
Final
Triad
Fantasy
was
8.
the
8,
one for
yeah,
me.
Yeah.
Triple Triad, and then
That
even
was
up
the
to,
best one.
It's
Love
so
that
good.
game.
Yeah, it holds up.
It's
for
so
sure. Like,
simple.
it is. Yeah. There's an elegance to all those games because you don't want someone to have to learn some crazy. You want it to be deep enough to where it's engaging and they want to keep going back to it. But like they did such a good job of making it about the card collecting and a
Mhm.
fun game too. Like I
Yeah.
feel like Gwent kind of has
Mhm.
It's very
a
similar.
little bit of
Yeah.
that as well, which is fun.
Yeah.
So more on that later. We don't have anything official to announce, but
Well, let me ask you this.
there will be,
More
as you
market
say,
research.
RPG fluff.
Good. Let me ask you this then.
Yeah,
I don't know how I could phrase this.
just jump into it.
Well, hold on.
I'm trying to pressure you to say something.
No. It's we'll come back to it. I'll
Okay.
find a way to phrase it the way I want to phrase it, but
Okay.
we'll figure it out. Andy, what do you're a man about
Well-
you get all the RPG questions out. Get some more RPG questions.
I just want to say, like,
Yeah, let's get nerdy about it.
I don't care a lot about wrestling
Okay.
and
All right. See ya.
wrestling games.
Bye.
No, but still.
What?
Oh, okay.
Get out of here. Get him out of here.
What? You don't care about wrestling, son? What?
Oh man, are you trickling out the impressions over? Do you have like a couple more in there?
I have a lot.
He had a week
I
to
have a
prepare.
lot.
That's awesome.
But I want and need to play this game based on how you're describing. I mean, I think it can make someone like me love wrestling in a way that I'm not really prepared to accept
That's
or
really
do.
nice of you to say. Yeah, that's really nice of you to say because that's definitely something that we have wanted to do with this game. As much as my motivation is I'm a wrestling fan, I want to make a wrestling game that is, that can rival a wrestling storyline, right? Like I want to follow Triple H throughout his, 20 plus year career and all of the ups and downs and the weird marriage stuff that happened in the story, like all that crazy stuff, right?
No. Hold on. Andy needs the context of this thing. Andy, let me take you. Let's take you down. We're gonna take you down a little.
And the irony is, I grew up loving soap operas, which is what you
Okay.
think I would love wrestling a little bit more,
Andy,
or appreciate the storytelling aspects of it.
there was a wrestler named Test who was
Rest in peace, Tess.
rest in peace. He did pass away.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He was like 37 when he died too, like
Yeah,
36 or
sad.
something, like very young. Test was dating Stephanie McMahon in the storyline. Stephanie McMahon meaning Vince McMahon's actual daughter. I think she might have been 20 or 21 at the time when this whole thing was going on. She was very young. And in the storyline,
I regret bringing this up.
Andy needs
not
context
good.
here because this is the
I
time.
need to know.
This is the story you wanted to see in video games. You wanted to explore this, so we're doing it. Okay. Triple H kidnapped Stephanie McMahon, drugged her,
Okay.
drove her through a drive-in chapel in Vegas,
Okay.
married her. And then she wound up turning heel and falling for him completely Stockholm Syndrome style.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. They're actually now married in real life and have 3 children.
Things are weird, man. Wrestling is a strange place. Wrestling is. It's I was
had-
just.
Had someone told me when I was like a 10 or 11 or whatever
Yeah.
the fuck when I was younger, had said, Andy, it's like Days of Our Lives, but the men are
In
always
thongs.
naked.
Yeah,
Always
they're
naked.
in thongs
I'd be
Yeah,
and,
like,
and
How do
oily.
I want
Oily,
to watch it now?
Oily,
it on right
strong. and they have cool move names.
Yeah, and they
Like
come out
if
to
the men
cool
on Days of
music.
Their Lives had like move names, they would be like, dramatically enter. Yeah, I don't know what you could do. What's like
I mean, they all
what's a
have
special
dramatic
move?
entrances on Days of Our
Yeah.
Lives. So
And in wrestling.
yeah, you know,
Okay, it's
so
the same.
it's
It's the same.
it's theater. It's theater.
It's
I mean,
absolutely the
don't they
same.
like? Do they ever die or come back from the dead, or like have long lost
Well,
siblings or shit like that?
allow me to introduce to you the Undertaker.
Yeah, the Undertaker is quite literally a dead man.
So the Undertaker, Andy, his whole origin story is that he burned his house down with both of his parents and his brother inside.
Yep.
They ran
His
a
brother,
funeral home, and he burned them alive and was raised by Paul Bearer, a man named Paul Bearer.
Paul, Paul.
Bearer, Bearer. Oh yes, Undertaker. Anyway,
Oh,
so the Undertaker, who gets his powers, like he could sit up in the middle of getting beat up, and he's like super strong because
He can cast
Paul Bearer
lightning down on people.
holds the ashes of his dead parents and holds it up, and
In an
Undertaker
urn, in a
Undertaker's
magical
like
urn.
drawn to it. Anyway,
Yeah.
cue in
He was
the
buried
Attitude
alive.
Era. Yes, he was buried alive. The Attitude Era comes, and Paul Bearer turns on the Undertaker, says, Undertaker, I have a surprise for you. Anyway, Undertaker's
Pretty good.
surprise was, Kane, Undertaker, your brother's alive.
He's returned. And from where?
And from the damn ashes of. Anyway, so Paul Bearer brings Kane, the Undertaker's younger brother, who's bigger, stronger, absolutely more terrifying.
The big red machine.
The
they
big
called
red
him.
machine
He's
is what they,
just-
the big red
yeah.
monster comes in. Anyway, they fight, and then Paul Bearer eventually reveals that he's Kane's father. He had an affair with Undertaker's mom before Undertaker murdered them, and was actually Kane's real daddy. And they threw Paul Bearer down the stairs in a wheelchair. That was great, hilarious. Like they were,
And sometimes one of the other of them would reach their hand through the bottom of the ring and
punch through
pull someone
like
down.
a horror movie.
And the announcers would literally be saying, he's dragging him to hell, he's dragging him to hell. Like, and then that person would be gone for like a while,
Yeah,
as if they
for
had
like
been dragged
weeks.
to hell. Yeah, like
Meanwhile, they're
Like,
just under there with a
hell.
bunch of plywood.
yeah.
to recover. Oh my god.
Andy, you would have loved
Kendo
wrestling,
sticks.
is
I
what we're
would have.
trying to say.
Yeah,
I would
it sounds based
was-
on what I know of you right up.
There
your
was a
alley.
guy
God
called the
damn it.
Boogeyman at one point in the early 2000s
ate a lot of worms.
who ate worms
Who
on
was
live
that like
television.
Leatherface looking guy?
Leather
Mankind.
That guy?
Oh, Mankind. Yeah,
Mankind.
Mick Foley. Yeah,
Who
Mankind.
has
Yeah.
4 personalities: Dude
Yeah.
Love, Mankind,
Cactus
Mick
Jack.
Foley, and Cactus Jack,
Yeah.
and
and he
they
and
all at one point wrestled at the
at
same
the same time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, wrestling's cool, man. So I wanted it to.
You wanted
be
to
a
capture
good
that.
game.
And
Yeah,
all of
it's-
this
it's the
informs your game, Steve.
It's-
It's, just
it's-
incredible
yes.
to me.
It's
maybe not some of
absurdist.
the gross things that WWE did back in the day. We tried. to
Oh,
avoid
you
that
mean
stuff,
Mae Young?
but- Oh,
Let me tell you about Mae Young, Andy.
Oh God.
Mae Young
Man,
was
I'm really
an
queuing
80-year-old,
Steve up.
This is
an
another date rape
80-year-old
story.
woman, an 80-year-old woman who wrestled for
Please
like
don't.
60 years. She falls in love with Sexual Chocolate, aka Mark Henry. They fornicate, and she's pregnant with his child. She's 80-something years old. She gives
Well,
birth.
I regret
To-
bringing any of this up. By the way,
She gives birth to a human hand. Just a hand covered in goo. Then, like 20 years later, they have this whole like retrospective for Mark Henry, and they say, Mark Henry, your son is here, and they had somebody cosplay in a giant hand costume come down, and it was fucking hilarious. Also, Kane had sex with a corpse named Katie Vick.
That's like the Glover remake I never thought I wanted to play.
Hamburger
Oh,
Helper.
God.
It gives the Hamburger Helper a whole new meaning if you watch the Mae Young birth hand
maybe I
birth.
shouldn't make this game.
No, you totally should. You gotta lean on it. You gotta lean on the absurdity.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's true. Wrestling is absolutely absurd. And that's the cool thing about it, is that we can say, hey, this is a world of wrestling, and we can have these like fantastical elements, right? Like we can have ghosts and hauntings and all of this crazy stuff that you might assume is just in a fantasy setting, right? We can get away with that. We can have all of that, and we can have different lands with completely different feels and themes. And it works because wrestling characters are diverse, you know, like in the way that, you know, the Avengers have a, you know, space god and a tech guy who makes suits and is rich, and, you know, a more horror themed. Yeah. Like in a way that they can do all of that in their movies and in one movie. Like, that's the cool thing about our games. We can have tons of different character types. We can have like a, you know, a wrestling scholar who is like trying to show her parents that like she deserves to be kind of the next generation. We can have a wrestling, like basically like Old West gang member who's kind of turned on her team and joined with you. Like, we can have a whole bunch of crazy, like we have a guy that's literally just death in our game. Like, he's just death, you know, like, so I don't know. Why not?
What is the thrust, narratively speaking? What are you make your character and you embark on this journey? What is kind of pushing you along to keep kicking ass and making your tag team and getting better, stronger?
Andy, obviously the end of the world is imminent, and there's a giant meteor / planet crashing to the earth.
If you don't German suplex that meteor,
well, listen, if you could suplex a house in Final Fantasy, you can suplex anything in your game. Am I right?
It's true. Absolutely. Yes. That's our rule. That's our design pillar. Suplex anything.
There's a giant, creamy, dismembered hand Antichrist of rising out of the ground. And
so you get it. You get
it. So yeah, I mean, I would say that in general, right, in our world, if you're a wrestler, you're motivated to be the best, right? It's a sport, right? So it starts out very much that kind of basic journey of just a wrestler wanting to be the best. But much like wrestling, of course, you can't just chase the title and win the title. You can't just wrestle. You've got to go through the rigmarole. So I don't want to do any spoilers here, because that's like part of kind of the narrative is like unraveling this mystery. But let's say that there may be a massive conspiracy linking together all of these things. So basically, when you start at the beginning of the game, you are, you know, in a small town, you're kind of this wrestling prodigy, and you have your best friend Carlo, who's been your long-term tag team partner, and you guys have really bonded over your lifetime. And by the way, this is a creative character, so you go and make your own character, choose their look, their backstory, a little bit about them. But essentially, you head out with Carlo to try to become amazing wrestlers outside of your small town. And you know, a series of events happen, and basically all of the champions of each of the 5 territories.
Territories. I love that.
So we have 5 territories in our game. They're all based on kind of real world wrestling hubs. We have like, you know, Paradise City, which is kind of like our Florida and Miami spot. We have like San Lucha, which is Mexico City, Yokio. You get it, right? So there's all these
got your Northeast, you got your Canada.
Exactly. Different wrestling styles, right? all around the world. And you want to go out and you want to become undisputed champion. You want to defeat the champions, but the kind of the baby face, the good guy champions that have been holding down those titles for a long time, and kind of kept their region stable, which, by the way, if you're the champion, you're basically like the mayor of your city or your territory.
Not far off from the 70s and 60s.
You kind of make your rules,
so,
right? Yeah. Exactly. And so all of those champions all at once sort of fall, right? And they get defeated by these relatively unknown heels, almost Godfather style. Overnight, all 5 of the crime bosses are X'd out, and now the new. So these new heels have taken over, and they're causing chaos in each of the territories, and they all have their different kind of brand of chaos that they're bringing, and you have to go overcome them and their faction to become champion. But obviously, that's not going to be as easy. So you're going to need to recruit different members,
get your stable.
But by the end of the game, I can say that sort of motivation to become the best, your character and your team have that, but the stakes become much higher. So the kind of the meteor example that you gave, it's not exactly that, but it is similarly cataclysmic potentially for wrestling.
Andy, if you like absurd stories, I think this is an RPG
if there was a way I could consume all of that soap opera goodness in a streamlined and effective manner today, I would watch
mainline it.
Old wrestling. I would.
Listen, I could get you through the Attitude Era. We could do this together. You have Peacock. This is not difficult.
This sounds like a completely separate podcast that you guys are.
This
that we're witnessing the
absolutely
start
is
of.
a podcast that Matt and I can walk you through.
Yeah.
Because Matt's another wrestling fan. We could definitely get you through that.
I want to watch it though.
No, yeah, we'll watch it
Yeah,
together.
I'll
We'll
watch
make it a
along.
Patreon. We'll make it a Patreon
legit
thing.
Want to watch it?
We'll make it a Patreon thing. We'll do a
it.
watch along. We'll 3, 2, 1 play, and we'll just fucking talk you through it.
Yep.
I will do
Annual.
this, Andy, and I will. And where I'll start it is we could start at the beginning of the Attitude Era. We'll start when Scott Hall shows up on Monday Nitro, so you could understand, or like right before it when he's still Razor Ramon, and then we'll kind of feed that into you, and we'll see how you feel about it. And we'll get all the way.
It's kind of like knowing when to hop in like a comic book arc or something.
That's
like
exactly
it's like
what it
almost
is.
equally like
yes.
it's equally scary because it's this ongoing show that's been going for decades, right? Like you're like, how do I start? Where's a good place to start? I think that could be a good place to start for sure.
For me, wrestling isn't any better than the beginning of the Attitude Era through 1999, and then obviously you get the super roster when WCW collapses, but like, and that was great, but like nothing will top the zeitgeist that wrestling created.
I think
from 96 to 99.
I think that's true so far. I hope for the future that there may be opportunities for that.
Now that there's competition,
change, but it's been it's like for me, what got me back into wrestling, I was kind of like a lapsed fan for a couple of years. And I got back in with like the Daniel Bryan Yeselmania, just rooting for the ultimate underdog. And that's another really cool thing about wrestling is that, you know, for years it's been kind of ruled by these titans and these like Hulk Hogan type figures or these John Cena's or these big, huge, muscly guys. But now wrestling has sort of evolved and like the indie wrestling scene has allowed for so many other really talented and good storytellers who maybe aren't as big to become huge. And so that was that whole storyline with Daniel Bryan being this underdog. And, you know, that's kind of what you are to some degree in our game as well, which is like, it's very much inspired by like, you know, the momentum that Daniel Bryan was able to build during those years. And that has basically hooked me ever since. Now I'm back in wrestling for life, I think at this point, thanks to that.
When you're creating your character, like how much say do you have in personality and like the type of, you know, the archetype you want to be? Are you the warrior of the party? Or like, how do you handle classes, like traditional RPG classes? Yeah.
So we have 7, currently we have 7 total player characters that you can collect as a party. And each one of those characters has their own personality, perks. So you're actually like, there's skill trees, which you're allocating in several different ways. So you can kind of spec individuals in different ways. Like, for example, Carlo, who's your best friend, he's like a hype man. And so you can spec him to be like a healer effectively, right? So in our game, hype equates to building stamina and building hype and building like getting your team back in the fight, right? So he's kind of like your hype man and your healer. But you can also spec him in more kind of a support kind of way where he's causing debuffs and stuff. For your character, it's very similar, right? So except you can change everything about how they look. You can change a lot of their animations. You can change their like entrance music. You can change their backstory stuff, which gives you perks and other things. So there's a lot more kind of like input and say that you have on your character. And then you can continue to gather things that will evolve your character more than the other characters, right? So the other characters, they kind of have their set path with variation. But for your character, you can kind of like learn from them and take some of their abilities from tag teaming with them and then kind of build this ultimate character for yourself.
This makes perfect sense to be an RPG. Because I feel like the flair that you get out of playing a turn-based RPG, it lends itself so well to wrestling. Because it's all about signature moves and showstoppers.
And building to those, right? And that's the cool thing about a lot of RPGs.
The crescendo.
Is like those big epic boss battles that you get into, you've got to build to those finishes. And in our game, it's quite literally the same, right? You've got to build. So the crowd is wanting to be behind you and they want to be invested in you because their territories are being terrorized by these heels, right? So you're going to help build up the heat of the crowd. You still have to fire them up. and then they're going to support you more and more and more. And as you build up the heat, then you can sort of cash in that heat to do massive finishers, right? So in our demo we've shown off so far, we have a couple that are I think a lot of wrestling fans will recognize, but they're amped up to like 50, right? So like the pop-up power bomb, for example, you might recognize that as something that like a Kevin Owens or someone uses. But in our game, the person literally gets flung up like 30 feet in the air and you jump after them and slam them down from the sky. We've got tag team finishing moves that are, you're going to recognize from, taking inspiration from like, Road Warriors and, the Dudleys and modern tag teams like the New Day and others that have these really cool like combo tag team finishers. So as you go, you're going to unlock, as you build synergy with your team, which we have a literal bonding system, you're going to unlock like different tag team moves together. So that's been like the most fun, honestly, because as a kid, like watching like Legion of Doom do the Doomsday device or the Road Warriors do the Doomsday device, I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. That's the coolest wrestling move.
Describe it for Andy. He needs to know.
All right. So like one of the guys would be standing on the ground, right? Standing up, and they would put their opponent like seated over his shoulders. Like imagine
chicken
his
style.
legs. Yeah. Like
chicken fights.
Chicken. Yeah. Or chicken fights. Yeah. So he's sitting up, and then another guy would go to the top rope and jump and clothesline the guy off of the shoulders, and they would topple downward, backward, and
it was never safe.
It was scary for sure.
Like
looking back on it,
taking that move was incredibly dangerous.
Like, the threat of bodily harm also is a factor for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna YouTube this for you, Andy, so you can watch it.
Lord. I kind of want to know like what, because it sounds like such a huge passion project for you, Steve.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What put you on the path to make this game now? Because as a studio, I did some research, and I think but we've had you guys on the show before. Remember that game called Bark, My Steve?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I said
remember
of course.
Remember that game?
I remember Bark. Yeah, Bark.
And then before that, there was a game called Adventures of Pip, like a little evolving pixel guy kind of thing. He's like 2-bit, 8-bit, 16-bit. So I'm looking at the trajectory of like, those games leading up to this.
Yeah.
Why is now the good time to do this, to explore this passion of yours?
Yeah.
To make this dream come true. What brought you to this moment?
So yeah, I mean, first of all, that's funny. First of all, no, it's okay. Those guys are cool. That's going to be a dope game.
Yeah.
As far as Pip, which is one of the studio's kind of first kind of console projects, a lot of thanks, appreciate that. Yeah, I originally met Sharif, who's our CEO and founder of the company. Met him back in like 2011 or something, 2012-ish. And I was working at a company called Majesco, and they pitched us this idea called Adventures of Pip. And so we worked on that game with them. And it was this basically the concept is it's a single pixel that kind of evolves and changes into like an 8-bit, 16-bit, and you get different abilities based on kind of where you're at in your evolution chain. And you save a world of pixel characters, and it's cool. And so a lot of that legacy really came out of, Sharif working on a lot of platformers. A lot of the people that worked at Tic Toc at the time were like X-Way Forward people, and spent a long time working on, Nintendo handheld platformers, right. and that was really kind of their bread and butter for a really long time. And they were really great at making those games. And then since then, we've kind of evolved. And I think Bark was another kind of thing where we were like, we really want to do a really fun, like simple enough game to pick up in co-op to where you can just get your family together, or get your friends together and just do that kind of pick up and play. We sort of missed that. And we wanted to really bring that genre of shmups to people that maybe weren't super hardcore, right? Like the genre itself used to be one of the most popular genres for a reason. It's simple, it's easy to get into, it's really fun and engaging, but it got super niche because it just got more and more bullet helly, right? And so we wanted to kind of open that up to more players. And also do some really nice hand-drawn animation and kind of flex our skills there, and our character design. And then I think as the years went by, we've just been thinking like, okay, how do we make the next step, right? What's the next logical evolution for us? And then that was really like hey, a big kind of 3D engine game, right?
Mm.
We had done a lot of work with 3D on some of our mobile games. Like we made like a Funko Pop game with tons, like literally like 300 animating Funko Pop characters. Like, so we just had this huge 3D team, and we're like, man, it would be great to do a kind of a big 3D game. And simultaneously to that was when I was kind of having this idea about doing this wrestling game. And so it all kind of came together. And the thing that I really like about it is that, you know, it's still this very cartoony, bright and vibrant style, which is something that we've always kind of done at Tic Toc. It's something that, you know, our artists, you know, who are, a lot of them are like CalArts trained and folks that are like, you know, very interested in cartoony and stylized animation and characters. It really, I think, sets us apart, right? Because this could, like, for us, we could have made the gritty, buff guy wrestling game. We could have done that, right? And I think that we could have done that well, but this is our personality. And I think the difference is we could have made the gritty, buff guy wrestling game, but no other studio could have made the Wrestle Story looking game, right? Like, and that's what I'm so proud of as a studio, is that like we've trusted our instincts and gone with, you know, building these fun cartoony worlds that hopefully we can infuse some heart into, and that people will be connected with the characters on.
Yeah, I do love that Steven Universe quality of the art in this game.
Yeah,
It's,
Cartoons
sure.
and wrestling just go together.
like I met your
so, too.
artist Zoe at PAX, and she's a delight and
Yeah.
ultra talented. And it
Yeah,
just,
Zoe is
Oh, man.
one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with, because she doesn't look at me like I'm crazy when I give a suggestion or when I describe something. I'm like, it should go like this. Like I'm just making a bunch of sound effects and motions, and she's like, oh yeah, I get exactly what you're saying.
I
And
need
here's a
someone like
better
that in my
version of it.
life.
You really do. You really
to
do.
pull
'cause
the
it's gonna
crazy
feel-
out of my head.
Exactly. Yeah. And then obviously, you know, our lead programmer PJ, our designer Jesse, like there's so many super talented people that I'm just grateful that have been like open to this crazy world of wrestling, right? We do have wrestling fans at the studio, but actually I'm the only one of like the kind of the three major leads on the team that was a wrestling fan before starting on this project, and I just indoctrinated them. And I was like, we're gonna sit down. Here's like, I made documents on documents of like, here are all the wrestling terms, and here is how wrestling works, and this is wrestling logic, and this is the key moments of wrestling history, you know, like
Is it a design doc? No.
there are
Like-
not design doc. Yeah.
Sure.
Design doc, fanfic, whatever.
Yeah. I may have thrown in my own personal, you know, story made up. I love the idea that like
Autobiography. Yeah, why not?
I wove myself into the history of wrestling somehow, and they're like, oh, this guy Slingshot Steve is incredible. He's amazing.
Slingshot Steve.
Oh my
It's
God.
funny that he is the most.
I was
going to
ask you.
history.
I was gonna ask you what your backyard wrestling
That's
slash
a rapid fire question.
slash
Steve.
You've already got it.
what your created character in you know No Mercy and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to have wrestling matches, I was lucky enough to be able to have a younger sibling who
yes,
you know, who I could lift up and toss around,
sure,
you know,
yeah, absolutely,
and who was into it and having fun, luckily.
and not breaking bones.
Yeah, well, thankfully.
Indeed. Well, speaking of rapid fire, Andy, it's time to slip into
yeah.
something comfortable and get into our rapid fire.
Oh boy.
So now we know you were
Mhm.
Slingshot Steve.
Mhm.
What was your theme song?
Oh my God, this is embarrassing. Okay, so I'll go with something that was really popular at the time that I actually put into, I want to say it's like the Xbox era, whatever era it was where you could load your own
Yep,
song.
it was raw.
into-
Yep.
Okay. Do you know CKY?
I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Bam Margera's brothers band.
Uh-huh.
There was that one song. I don't know any of the other songs, but there was one song, and I still like
I
hum
know
it to this day.
Yep.
And then it's got the worst verse ever. But when that riff kicks back in, you're like, yeah. And
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, this is the perfect, like, I'm going to strut out to the ring song. So I would say, I don't remember the name of that song, but it's the Banana song.
Yeah. The banner.
CKY.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
got like a long title. Look it up. It's and then play the intro and then stop the song.
Go ahead.
See,
Andy.
I know that band because all of my friends liked wrestling and they also liked CKY.
Hmm.
Ugh.
It's the perfect wrestling intro. I'm
So,
surprised that no one's
like
pulled that
like
out.
half my friends liked sports, other half liked wrestling, and there's a little like a gaming cross section between all three of us. But I was always like,
Yeah, it's hard to not see that cross section come out when you're
Mhm.
like
Was it 96 Quiet Bitter Beings? Was that the name of the song?
that sounds right to me. Yeah, I knew it had a number in it and it was really long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, yep.
Yeah.
all
that
right,
sounds about
this is an interesting take on a similar question you just asked.
I'll be the
Steve,
judge of that.
about naming. I would like to explore a career in wrestling. Steve, I want you
Yeah.
to name my character. Who am I? What's my persona? Based on this last hour or so chat we've just had. Maybe some of the stuff back here
You
can
know,
inform you
I was gonna say
on the
well,
personality a little bit.
So I mean, honestly, like this conversation has mostly been you being curious about wrestling. So it's hard for me not to think of like kind of like a Curious George kind of vibe, like a you know, that's more of like a 60s feeling wrestler, like a 50s, 60s feeling wrestler to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness.
I could see you doing like a vaudevillian,
Yeah.
old timey with the tights.
Yeah,
and,
you're
like,
sort of a man out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Curious
yeah,
George
yeah.
it is. We're gonna go with Curious George.
I'm into that.
I think that might be copywritten. I mean, it could
Yeah, it's never
be
stopped
public
wrestling before.
domain.
It's never stopped wrestling before. Remember,
then
bring it
like,
back.
wasn't there a dude that was just Sub-Zero in wrestling for a while?
Have there
Uh,
been
hold on.
clones in wrestling? Can I be a clone maybe?
There have been
There
clones.
have been
Yeah,
clones.
There
There
was, like,
were-
an Undertaker
There
clone.
were two Undertakers. There were two Canes.
Yeah, there was a couple of. There might have been two Diesels at one point.
There was, but that was the character, not the person.
My
But yeah.
lord.
Okay, fair enough.
Um,
Yep,
And a fake Razor Ramon as well.
fake Razor.
Yeah.
Oh, fakes.
Fakes.
There was Bill Goldberg, and
How'd
then
they
there
do
was Gilbert.
Yeah.
Right, Gilbert was kind of like this smaller, like scrawnier.
He was the
version of Bill
normal
Goldberg.
sized person. He was
That's- okay, fair enough.
5'4",
Yeah,
140-pound dude. And then there was Goldberg, who was 6'6", 350
Yep.
of muscle.
Gilbert.
So Gilbert, yeah,
He was
Good
the
time.
light heavyweight champion. If
he
I
was.
recall, at
He
one
was.
point.
He was. He was also the hardcore champion at one point, I
Mhm.
believe. And I think he won the 24/7 title not that long ago, maybe a couple of years ago.
Oh my god!
Like, very quickly.
24/7 title is when you can just bring a ref around and they like pin someone. I think someone threw that in the trash recently.
Yes.
That's how they get rid of belts on
Yeah.
WWE. They're like, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, we're gone.
Literally throw it in the trash.
Good times. Good times had by all. What was your finishing move?
Oh my god, my finishing move.
I could do this. All
It
day.
was definitely a cutter because it's
Yeah,
the
some kind of-
easiest
yeah, some
thing
kind of
to
cutter.
do on someone. It had to be like the diamond cutter or something.
I was a big fan of the Blockbuster.
Yeah,
I like
can
that
see
a lot.
that.
Yeah, those were always fun.
Anything where you can do it to anyone of any size.
Yeah, and all I got to
You
do is
know?
fall.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why everyone does the super kick.
Ugh,
But that just hurts yourself.
Super kick
It rips
party.
your pants.
Yeah, slap your thighs. You know what Jim Cornette says? This generation ain't gonna have cauliflower ears. They're gonna have cauliflower thighs from slapping their thighs. Andy,
Is it me now?
it's you now.
Speaking of slapping thighs,
Yeah.
Andy.
if wrestling matches were illegal, what would their street name be? You're out on the streets. You want to watch a good
You want to trade some tapes?
a good brawl, yeah.
If they were illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. A turnbuckle beat 'em up for what you're saying, like a drug?
You
Like
want-
a drug name?
You want some of this turnbuckle
Give-
beat 'em upper? I
Yeah,
got some turnbuckle beat 'em uppers here.
Yeah.
3 for
What
$5.
What's yours? Now I want to know I don't even know what line of thinking you're going down, so I want to hear yours.
Like what would you refer to wrestling as if you
Meat
couldn't
slaps.
say like
Yeah,
Yes,
big meaty
that's
men
it.
slapping meat.
Yes.
You want
Yeah,
to watch some
the
meat
big E.
slaps?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because it
man.
sounds like, at the butcher shop, like some leftover crap.
Yeah, some
No?
meat, you want some meat slaps?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take some.
I get some nice cured meat slaps.
I got
for
some
you.
meat slaps from the 80s. I got some
Excellent
meat slaps from the
quality.
90s. Whatever meat slaps you like.
I got some raw meat slaps for you.
I got hey, Monday Night Raw. That hits. That checks out.
I like
That's
it.
That checks
That's it.
out.
I'm gonna go watch some meat slaps.
Gonna watch some meat slaps tonight.
No.
Me and Andy are gonna watch some meat slaps and make a podcast out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
All
we'll
right.
make our meat slaps into a podcast.
Yes, we're gonna make our meat slaps into a podcast, Andy. Hey, there's an audience for everything.
Yeah.
There's an audience for
We've
everything.
always been saying dual screens after dark.
Dual screens
Meat
after
slaps is
dark.
the gateway into that darkness.
Speaking of after dark, let's get into our next rapid fire question.
Let's.
It's late night, Steve. It is late
Yeah.
night.
Mm.
You are feeling a bit snackish.
Mm.
What is your go-to midnight snack?
I feel like it's two things because I like to kind of get both sides, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know if they have Trader Joe's where you guys are. I think they do probably.
Yes.
Mhm.
So Trader Joe's has an ice cream sandwich. It's got 2 cookies and then it's like around the rim with chocolate chips as well.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like extremely
The man of culture.
The chip witch.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that thing goes pretty hard. So I'll probably dig into one of those, and then after that, I'm like, oh, that was a little sweet. I need to balance that out. So let's get some, let's get some pretzels. Let's get some rolled gold, just classic pretzels, and just go to
okay.
town on those guys. You know what I mean? Just like a little amuse bouche after the
Yeah,
full deal.
I'm down with that.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that happens
mhm.
too often. Very late after I finish playing Tears of the Kingdom, maybe at 2 a.m, and then I just go nuts.
He said finish Tears of the Kingdom. Funny.
Can I
That's
just
fair.
say a quick side remark that
Yeah.
I've been so engrossed in this conversation about wrestling, which I don't care about. I have not thought about Tears of the Kingdom once. In this
That's a huge
last hour.
compliment.
That is
Yeah.
a credit
That's
to you,
good.
Steve. And
That's
Steve.
good. Yeah.
GG.
Yeah, I give it more to Steve with his impressions.
It's definitely Steve.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here with my mouse hovered over a 2-minute video of LOD doing the Doomsday Device to a bunch of people.
Just
wa-
back to back.
just watching it
Doomsday
over and over again.
devices.
People-
Yeah.
Big meaty men doing backflips, nearly breaking their neck.
Yep.
It's just it's wonderful.
All right. So I love this question.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna ask it.
Love it up.
It's late. It's also late.
It's just all
Dual
about
screens
this
after
is the
dark.
nighttime portion of the
It's
question.
also late.
Yes.
Mhm.
Your loved ones get a phone call that you've been arrested. Oh,
God.
noes. What have you done? What did you do?
What was your crime?
man.
Why are you incarcerated?
I think it's probably me trying to do something good and then something bad happening out of it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like I am trying to go get my wife a cake from Porto's, which is our favorite bakery in Burbank, California. And maybe I want it so bad that I throw a rock through the window and I go retrieve that
Wow.
cake
There is
because it's the
no-
best cake
And
ever.
there, I don't think that's accidental.
You know
you're gonna
what?
have a problem
Maybe
proving that.
maybe I slipped and the rock came out of my hand and smashed through the window. Maybe a little slip.
I think I'd break some glass for some
It's
cake.
okay. Let's just put it this way. Again, and now I'm just talking about treats now, right? Because I've
Stealing
been-
treats.
Mhm.
You're
But
basically a cat, is what you're saying.
Porto's chocolate cake is worth smashing a window and getting arrested.
You hear that,
for a
Portos? You better get your gate down.
Oh, is that a
Yeah.
new sponsor?
Hear that? New sponsor brought to you by
This is a
Portos.
good time. So now
And-
it's a
if you're
sponsor.
if you're in LA,
Brought to you by Rocks.
Bye
You
everybody.
can break a window. You can get a cake.
I'm very food motivated, guys. What can I say?
If
Oh,
you
God.
were
Spirit
creating your wrestler in
Mhm.
using the D&D abilities,
Mm-hmm.
what stat are you dumping and what stat are you maxing?
I think I'm maxing like dexterity for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Like to get around, like to move. Maybe not do like big crazy damage, but I'm chipping away. You know.
Sure.
And I think logically maybe I dump power at that point, but I feel like that would be a bad choice in wrestling. I feel like dumping strength. Sorry, we call it power in our game, but
no, I got you.
Dumping strength would probably be not good. So I would say I'm probably gonna just dump intelligence and just go charisma dex, just Shawn Michaelsing it up,
absolutely.
just showboating and like kicking and punching and jumping
cutting
around
them promos and doing the head scissor
takedowns. Maybe it's not the most intelligent, most cerebral type of assassination to happen, but
you have a little constitution so you could take a beating.
That would be, I think that would probably, I would dump that in favor, or I would dump strength in favor of constitution. Just so I could,
absolutely. 100%.
Just constitution plus charisma equals salesman.
Absolutely.
Which just sounds more fun.
I like that.
Given the chance, if you could take any beloved video game franchise and turn it into a turn-based wrestling RPG, which franchise would you pick?
Well, I already did that because it's basically, Super Mario RPG.
So, I know, but I'm saying
with the characters.
Would it be the
quite
Mario
literally?
Characters?
Well, you know what?
But they're wrestling though. It's in the same wrestling universe.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel like what would be a good? It's got to be like a Nintendo franchise. I don't know why my head went to Donkey Kong, just because it seems like there's a lot of like family stuff to
a lot of family drama.
Yeah. Right. Like there's a lot of unexplored family drama that I feel like could be interesting in kind of a wrestling story setting. So let's go with Donkey Kong.
That's right, Donkey Kong. I have your brother.
He burned.
Is that Cranky Kong?
Burned down Donkey's house, and Donkey came back. Yeah, that's Cranky for sure. Wait, is Cranky Kong Donkey Kong's father?
He's the OG Yonky Dong from
right?
Yonky Dong.
So he's the bad Donkey Kong.
Yes,
or maybe the misunderstood.
But he's not Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. is the current Donkey Kong's dad.
Kong, yeah.
No, dad.
Okay.
Oh, so Cranky
but he's
Kong
not in any of it. Cranky Kong is there. I don't know if they're related.
So maybe then we'll find out in this wrestling story.
Maybe
what happened to DK's
see, and this
dad.
is what I'm saying. There's enough here to unpack. Like the Mario lore is kind of like,
why are some of them gorillas and others chimps? We don't know. We don't know. There's
like those fun. There's that rhino character that's you can do.
You got your crocodile guys.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of gimmicks. There's a whole bunch of gimmicks.
A barrel match.
Yep. I feel like King K. Rool sounds like a wrestler.
That is a wrestler. That is for sure a wrestler.
Yeah. So there you go.
Damn.
You're right.
And the music is good.
The music's great.
The music rips. So I feel like you need good music in wrestling.
Absolutely. Without good wrestling, without good music, what is wrestling really?
I could definitely imagine someone
but also
putting a barrel
meat slaps.
I could definitely see someone putting a barrel over someone's head while they're in the corner and doing the coast to coast like Shane McMahon used to do with the trash can.
Oh yeah.
But it's just a barrel.
Yeah.
I think that could work.
Yeah, absolutely. The next question is the final question and is the hardest question you're going to answer. It is a question with two possible answers.
Okay.
It is another this or that. Would you rather type, if you will. A baby can answer it. Like if you put a baby on the ground, it could choose one of these things.
And they have.
And they have. They have.
Okay.
The question is, Andy or Steve?
And I can't ask. I can't say anything. I can't have any qualifiers. I just have to say one
qualifiers are up to you. We will not give you qualifiers.
Yeah.
I think that there can only be one Steve in the room. So Andy's got a great beard.
He does.
Different colors in it.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's got two distinct different colors.
I got twisty mustache though.
Oh wow.
You have a twisty mustache.
So just based on the merits of name overload. Right. I don't want to have to say my own name outside of
right.
To anyone else. So then that's the only reason.
That's fair. That's a fair answer.
now-
I'm okay with
And
that.
too many hats for me.
Way too many hats.
Too many
I get it.
hats.
Yeah. It was really hurting my head, okay? It was really doing a number on my cabeza. Okay? It is what it is.
You're Jeff
You have to-
Cabezas.
You have to dump some of that intelligence, Steve. And you,
My-
that's how you
I dump my int stats all the time.
all the time.
Except my next character in D&D, which is going to be a wizard. So we're going to
See,
be
I was gonna say, had Steve said Steve, it could have been about him. You
Right.
wouldn't have known he
Yeah, I
was
wouldn't have
talking
known.
about.
Do you spell your name
dump
VEN?
myself. That's right.
See,
Just
I,
Ven.
see, I
I'm
do
Ven. They call me.
Then
Yeah,
I do
I'm just Ven.
PH, so there you go. It's different.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's
yeah,
a new
actually, you know
qualifier.
what? That changed my answer then because
Yeah.
I thought you were
Suck
I thought-
it, Andy.
Yeah,
Ladies and
it is
gentlemen.
pronounced differently, even if you don't know.
Yes, you just say it fast so that it's pronounced
Uh-huh.
the same. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. This was an absolute pleasure doing this. I had a
lot of
great time. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at dual_screens. I'm at Batchild27. Andy is at PantsGuy. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/DS podcast. And again, go to patreon.com/dualscreens. And for $1, you get into our Discord. You can hang out with us literally all day. We're in there
Mhm.
chatting with the hardest core indie game fans. And we've created such a close group of friends that last Monday I got back from a trip where I met one for the first time, but we all got a cabin together. It was me, Matt, and a couple of Dual Screens listeners
That's
and contributors. We all got together and played D&D for 4 straight days in a
Oh,
cabin.
dude, what
And
a
it was
dream.
great. And
That's
it
sick.
was a wonderful time.
what a treat!
What a treat indeed.
What a treat!
Steve, where can everybody follow you? Where can everybody follow Wrestle Story and all that fun stuff?
I'm at the Steve Jimenez. I don't really post very much on Twitter because I'm busy making games. So
Mhm,
go to
mhm.
at Tic Toc Games to follow, and on all relevant platforms. Go to wrestlestory.com if you want to check out the game and kind of get updates on what's going on with the game. And yeah,
And
That's
it's we would be real dumb if we didn't say that is spelled TikTok, TIC,
you know,
TOC.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Does it help or hinder your studio
I
being
would
called
say-
TikTok?
I would say it ends up evening out
Yeah.
All
in
right.
the wash.
Yeah. So don't be thinking that they're working for,
Bite dance.
yeah, none of that's happening.
Yeah. We are
Indie
we
dev
are a
studio.
small studio in California.
California. All right. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. And as always, please be excellent to each other.